Sir, perhaps this seat does not belong to you. Adrian Cole looked up. His eyes met those of the flight attendant, Brenda Hale, standing before him with a strained smile and a gaze filled with suspicion. Around them, a few white passengers in expensive suits began to glance over, as if witnessing an odd disruption in a world they believed belonged exclusively to them. Adrian was not wearing a suit. He wore a simple black hoodie, jeans and sneakers that had carried him through countless journeys. On his wrist, the platinum glint of a Patek Philippe watch peeked out, understated and elegant, but no one noticed. To them, he looked like any ordinary traveler, perhaps even out of place in first class. What Brenda did not know was that the man she was trying to displace was the billionaire CEO of Global Ventures International, the conglomerate that had just acquired Skyline Airways, the parent company of the very airline she worked for. And tomorrow, when the news of the acquisition broke, her 15-year career would be over. 3 hours earlier, at the Tokyo airport security gate, Adrian had already felt the scrutinizing stares. Even though his boarding pass clearly stated Platinum Elite First Class, the security officer frowned, asking, "Are you sure you are in the right lane, sir? This is for first-class passengers." Adrian calmly handed over his passport and boarding pass again, saying nothing more. The officer hesitated, then reluctantly waved him through. Just ahead, a white businessman in a tailored suit was greeted warmly with bows and smiles, as though he were the only customer worthy of such treatment. Adrian was used to it in 23 years since founding his first company in a cramped apartment. He had learned what it meant to be judged by appearance rather than worth. But he had also learned one truth: silence could be the sharpest blade. Back on the plane, seat 5A, the window seat he had carefully chosen 24 hours earlier, was becoming the center of conflict. Another man, Graham Radcliffe, staggered into the cabin, the stench of alcohol heavy around him. His suit was wrinkled, his tie crooked, but his voice boomed with fake authority. "I reserved seat 5A. That is my seat." Brenda and Naomi, the two attendants, rushed forward, their voices suddenly soft and accommodating. "Please, Mr. Radcliffe, don't worry. We will sort this out right away." Adrian remained silent, his eyes absorbing every detail. He had seen men like Graham before, men who believed a few reservations and a loud voice could buy submission. But what he noticed most was Brenda's dismissive glance when she turned back toward him, her disdain so clear it did not even need to be hidden. "Sir," Brenda lowered her voice, "there seems to be a system error. Could you kindly move to another seat? We have 7B available in the middle of first class." Adrian raised an eyebrow, his voice low but firm. "I chose 5A because I need the window. This is my ticket, and you have checked it 3 times already." The corner of Brenda's mouth twitched, her fake smile faltering for just an instant. She turned away, whispering to Naomi. Moments later, the cockpit door opened and First Officer Eric Vaughan stepped out, his voice dripping with authority. "Sir, we need this seat for a special passenger. We ask for your cooperation." "A special passenger?" Adrian lifted his boarding pass, his tone steady. "I paid for this seat. This is my boarding pass." Eric glanced at the ticket for only a second, then nodded dismissively, as though it meant nothing. "I'm sorry, but today you will need to move to another cabin. If not, I will have to call security." The cabin fell silent. A few phones were raised, red recording lights blinking. In their eyes, Adrian was just a black man causing trouble, refusing to give up a seat for a so-called valued customer. Adrian felt the blood pulsing at his temples. Throughout his career, he had chosen restraint, refusing to let anger destroy what he had built. And now was no different. He drew a long breath, stood, and folded his tablet. "Very well," he said slowly. "I will go." Brenda suppressed a victorious smile. Graham chuckled, pouring himself another glass of champagne that Brenda hurried to serve. And Adrian quietly walked to the back of the plane, settling into the cramped seat 34B between two strangers. But Brenda had made one critical mistake. He did not leave in defeat. He left to prepare a reckoning the airline would never forget. In the dim cabin, as the seatbelt sign turned off, Adrian opened his laptop. His fingers typed cold, precise words into an encrypted channel. "Initiate Protocol Delta. Severe racial discrimination. Involved personnel. Brenda Hale, Naomi Park, First Officer Eric Vaughan. Prepare legal and security teams at JFK. This will be their final day in aviation." He closed the laptop and leaned back. Somewhere ahead, Graham was savoring his false victory. Brenda and Naomi believed they had preserved the order of first class. They had no idea that the man in the worn hoodie was the new owner of the very skies they were flying through. And with a single press of send, that order would crumble forever. The smell of disinfectant, the squeak of rubber soles against the hospital corridor floor, the labored breathing of his mother, Evelyn Cole, as she pushed a heavy mop across the gleaming tiles. That was the soundscape of Adrian's childhood. Not lullabies, not bedtime stories. Each dawn began with a 10-year-old boy following his mother to the hospital, cleaning offices, sorting medical waste, then rushing back to school before the morning bell rang. Harlem was not a safe place back then. Narrow streets strewn with trash, cheap neon lights, the wail of sirens echoing all night. Every child learned to be tough early. But Adrian was different. His mother taught him that true strength was not in fists or knives hidden in jackets, but in holding on to dignity even when the world tried to grind it away. "Education is the one thing they can never take from you," Evelyn whispered, her eyes burning bright despite the dark circles from sleepless night shifts. Adrian believed her. Believed so much that he accepted falling asleep in class after working 3 odd jobs, delivering newspapers at dawn, washing dishes in the afternoon, mopping the gym floor at night. Every dollar saved went to help his mother pay the utility bills. At 18, Adrian held in his hands an acceptance letter from Columbia University with a full scholarship. Neighbors were shocked, friends stunned. But he knew the real price had been years of exhaustion, calloused hands, and pride that never bent. At Columbia, Adrian was unlike anyone else. In advanced economics, he was the only black student. A professor once accused him of plagiarism because his essay was too strong. "There's no way you wrote this," the man said flatly. Adrian simply handed over his handwritten drafts, proving every idea was his sweat and blood. That suspicion, instead of breaking him, forged armor. Never wait for validation. Let results speak. After graduation, Adrian did not take the safe route. He did not join Wall Street like his peers, nor become an analyst at an investment firm. He rented a tiny apartment in the Bronx, set up an old wooden desk and a wheezing computer, and began typing the first lines of code for his startup. The first 3 years were hell. He slept on the floor, lived on instant noodles and cheap coffee, fueled only by his unshakable belief that one day his product would change how businesses secured their data. Some days he knocked on 20 doors, all closed in his face. But each rejection, each slammed door, only hardened his resolve. By year 5, the name Coltech Systems appeared in a tech magazine for $1 million deal. Adrian was only 27, but already called the man who stepped from Harlem's shadows onto the launch pad. Success followed success. Coltech became the first brick in what would grow into Global Ventures International. From startups, Adrian expanded into fintech, clean energy, logistics, media, and eventually, aviation. In every industry, every deal, he entered as the underestimated outsider and always left with victories that stunned the financial world. By 46, he was one of the most powerful men in America. Fortune, Forbes, and Time ran his portraits in succession. Billion-dollar boardrooms and intercontinental contracts all bore Adrian's mark. But one thing never changed. At Tokyo Airport that morning, when the security officer frowned and asked, "Are you sure this is the first-class lane?" Adrian felt like he was 10 again. The Harlem boy shadowed through a supermarket by a manager, the Columbia student accused of plagiarism, the young entrepreneur mistaken for the assistant of his white CFO. He had climbed to the summit, but could not escape the shadow of bias. And perhaps that was why Adrian chose anonymity on this flight. No suit, no bodyguards, no markers of power, except a platinum watch hidden under the cuff of his hoodie. He wanted to see how the world treated him when no one knew who he was. What did they see? An ordinary man. Someone out of place in first class. A mistake that could be corrected by shoving him into a cramped seat at the back. But that so-called mistake would soon turn into a storm. Adrian pressed himself into seat 34B, knees against the tray table, squeezed between two strangers. The tight space brought back memories. Cramped apartments, packed buses, nights of hunger spent studying under dim yellow light. He drew in a long breath, feeling past and present collide in his chest. And he knew. This was not just an insult. This was an opportunity. An opportunity to prove that human dignity is not a privilege for those with a first-class ticket, but a birthright no one can strip away. Adrian smiled, a cold, steady smile. Because Brenda, Naomi, and Eric had just crossed the wrong man, one who could erase their careers with a single word. The first-class cabin glowed with soft light, sparkling off glasses of champagne. Every passenger wore tailored suits, polished shoes, voices steady and full of confidence. And then there was Adrian, half his face hidden under a plain black hoodie, sitting in silence, a shadow out of place in a picture painted to glorify luxury. Brenda Hale approached, her steps crisp, her face as cold as steel. In her hand was a silver tray, carrying only a glass of water without the coaster given to every other guest. A small gesture, but enough for Adrian to understand the message. You don't belong here. He accepted the glass without a word. His eyes, dark and deep, flashed cold for an instant. Brenda turned quickly away, smiling sweetly at the white gentleman in seat 5B, placing his champagne delicately on a coaster, bowing lower than necessary. More passengers filed in, Japanese, American, a few Korean businessmen, all marked by the right signs, glittering Rolex watches, Armani suits, glossy leather briefcases. None of them were asked to show their boarding pass again. No one except Adrian. Only minutes later, Brenda returned, eyes narrowing. "Sir, may I see your boarding pass once more?" Silently, Adrian handed it over. This was the third time. His expression calm, lips pressed tight. Brenda examined it longer than needed before nodding reluctantly. "Thank you, sir." Her voice lingered on "sir" like mockery. Across the aisle, a white man in a grey suit leaned back, arms crossed, smirking. To him, the sight was amusing. A black man in a hoodie, misplaced in a world built for men like him. Adrian felt every glance. None of it was new. His entire life and career had been shadowed by suspicion, by judgment, by questions of worthiness. But this time was different. This time, he was the man who held the future of this airline in his hands. Suddenly, raised voices cut through the false calm at the cabin door. "Seat 5A is mine!" Graham Radcliffe stumbled in, reeking of alcohol. His suit rumpled, his tie dangling loose, but his voice carried the arrogance of entitlement. Brenda transformed at once. Her smile softened. Her hand touched Graham's arm gently, soothing him like a petulant child. "Mr. Radcliffe, please take seat 5D for now. We'll resolve this immediately." Within seconds, a glass of champagne appeared in his hand, without him needing to ask. Adrian's heart beat slow but heavy. He knew what was coming, and it came. Brenda turned back, her smile stiff. "Mr. Cole, unfortunately, the system made an error. Seat 5A actually belongs to a Diamond member. We ask that you kindly move to another seat." Adrian stared directly into her eyes. "This is the seat I reserved yesterday. This is my boarding pass. You have already confirmed it 3 times. Brenda's face faltered, then hardened. She turned away, whispering to Naomi Park. Naomi hurried into the cockpit. Moments later, First Officer Eric Vaughan emerged, his expression severe, his tone heavy with authority. "Sir, we need your cooperation. Mr. Radcliffe is an important client. If you refuse, we will have to call security." The cabin fell silent. A few phones lit up, cameras already recording. In their eyes, Adrian was just another black man making trouble, refusing to give up a seat to a valued customer. Adrian felt his pulse pounding. A part of him wanted to explode, to shout and rip the mask off the injustice, but he remembered what his mother had taught him, dignity above all. He swallowed hard, rose slowly, lifting his bag. "Fine," he said, voice steady, each word like a hammer. "I will go." Graham laughed loud, tipping back champagne. Brenda smiled faintly, certain she had won. Adrian walked in silence, past business class, past curious stares, down to seat 34B in economy. No room to stretch, knees pressed against the seat in front. The smell of food mixed with the muffled music leaking from a boy's headphones beside him. He sat there, silent, eyes dark. But inside, a storm raged. When Brenda pushed the drinks cart through economy, she spotted him. Her face tightened, then quickly reshaped into a mechanical smile. "What would you like to drink?" "Water." The cold glass tipped, spilling across his thigh. "Oh, sorry." Her voice hollow, a tissue tossed carelessly. Adrian dabbed the wet fabric slowly, still silent. But her whisper to Naomi carried clearly. Does he really think he deserves first class? Probably using someone else's ticket. Naomi giggled. That hoodie? No way he could afford it. A few passengers turned, uneasy, but quickly looked away. No one spoke up. Adrian did not respond. Instead, he opened his laptop. His fingers tapped cold words into an encrypted channel. Skyline Airways, Flight TK447. Severe discrimination. Staff involved: Brenda Hale, Naomi Park, First Officer Eric Vaughan. Legal team to prepare at JFK. Initiate Protocol Delta. He hit send, then opened another file. He began listing times, actions, words. Every detail was evidence. The cabin shook gently as the plane pierced the clouds. And in the cramped darkness of seat 34B, a verdict for the entire system was already being written, high above the sky. The engines hummed steadily. The cabin glowed with soft light, but to Adrian, every moment weighed heavy like a courtroom session. Seat 34B, pressed tight on both sides, his knees jammed into the seat ahead, the air thick with the smell of spilled food and sweat. He was not just a downgraded passenger. He was a witness to a theater of injustice playing out before his eyes. A black woman, around 30, sat in row 36. She pressed the call button, her voice trembling. "Excuse me, may I have another blanket? It's very cold." Naomi appeared, her face professional, but her reply firm. "I'm sorry. Blankets are reserved for premium economy and above." The woman lowered her head in silence. Minutes later, Adrian watched Naomi hand a blanket to a white couple in row 38, also seated in economy. They accepted it with grateful smiles. The woman in 36 bit her lip, turning toward the window. Adrian made a note. Time? 14:10. Black female passenger. Request for blanket denied. White passengers in row 38 received blanket. Nearby, a Muslim family of 4, father, mother, 2 young children, waited for their special halal meals they had pre-ordered. When the food cart rolled past, Brenda shrugged. "Sorry, the kitchen must have forgotten." Adrian frowned. He had seen the halal boxes being loaded before boarding. Where had they gone? As the parents tried to calm their hungry children with dry bread, Brenda carefully placed one of those halal trays in front of a white businessman ahead. Not halal, but that hardly mattered to him. Adrian wrote, 14:25. Muslim family. Special meal denied. Halal meal served to white passenger who did not request it. In row 33, an elderly Asian man held the drink menu, his accent thick. "Orange juice, please." Naomi frowned and shook her head quickly. "No." The old man had no chance to protest before his daughter laid a hand on his arm. eyes cast down. But Adrian, watching closely, saw the cart a minute later deliver a glass of chilled orange juice to the white passenger in 32A. He wrote, 1440. Elderly Asian male. Orange juice request denied. 1 minute later, orange juice given to white passenger. Adrian sighed, a wave of familiar anger rising. Each incident was a shard, fitting together into a picture. This was not error. This was a system. Silent, entrenched, toxic. When Brenda and Naomi dismissed him as just a troublesome man in a hoodie, they did not realize that every move, every word, was being recorded into the report Adrian was building, a report that would bury their careers. The plane jolted softly. Outside the window, clouds stretched like endless cotton. Inside, the air was suffocating. Adrian quietly connected to the Wi-Fi through an encrypted corporate account, opening a private channel. A message arrived from Victor Reyes, his chief of staff. Signal received, legal team assembled, preparing supplemental data. Adrian typed back. Focus on records of Brenda Hale, Naomi Park, First Officer Eric Vaughan. Pull every complaint from the past 5 years. Prepare immediate termination plan and public disclosure. His phone buzzed again. Understood. Security and lawyers ready at JFK Gate. This will be a full strike. Adrian pressed his lips together. Memories surged. He recalled being 10, trailed through a supermarket with his mother by a guard who assumed theft because they were poor and black. He remembered Columbia when a professor asked if he was in the wrong class after his top scores. He remembered early boardrooms where investors spoke only to his white CFO, assuming Adrian was the assistant. They believed their power was absolute. But tonight, at 30,000 feet, the balance was shifting. Naomi walked past, her eyes narrowing at the glow of his laptop. She strained to read the encrypted lines. Adrian snapped the computer shut, but her suspicion was clear. She pulled Brenda into the galley, whispering. Both glanced back at him, their stares sharp, wary, like guards who had realized the prisoner was hiding a weapon. Adrian knew he had been marked as a problem passenger, but they did not understand. He was not filing a complaint for a few thousand miles in compensation. He was writing an indictment, not just for them, but for the entire system. The intercom crackled. We are halfway through our journey. Please sit back and relax. In the cabin, polite smiles passed back and forth. But beneath the surface, Adrian saw the cracks. A service model built on selective treatment, indulging some, dismissing others. A performance held together by false smiles and enforced silence. He typed the final line of his interim report. Preliminary conclusion: systemic discrimination, denial of basic service, selective favoritism, explicit racial bias. Full video evidence and witnesses attached. Recommend immediate deployment of Protocol Delta. Adrian lifted his eyes. Ahead, Graham Radcliffe laughed loudly, raising his 6th glass of champagne. Brenda bowed lower as she refilled his drink, her gaze soft in contrast to the chill she reserved for Adrian. Eric Vaughan passed by, glancing at row 34B with a flash of mocking smirk. Adrian did not respond. He closed his eyes, inhaling deeply. In the cramped cabin, the man in the worn hoodie appeared to sit in silent defeat. But only he knew. He was drafting an indictment powerful enough to shake the foundation of an empire. Tomorrow, when the plane touched down in New York, the balance of power would shift. In the cramped economy cabin, the glow of Adrian's laptop cast a cold light across his face. Outside, the night sky stretched endlessly. Inside, files began to unfold. Fragments of evidence Skyline Airways had long buried. Adrian keyed in 3 layers of access codes, then pressed his fingertip to the sensor. Numbers cascaded across the screen as the airline's internal records opened one after another. He was the new owner, though few inside the company knew it. The acquisition had been kept secret, reserved for moments exactly like this. And now he was ready. The first file, Brenda Hale, senior flight attendant, 15 years in the industry, a model employee on paper. But scrolling down, Adrian found 4 official complaints filed within the past year. 3 came from passengers of color, reporting Brenda as rude, dismissive, or outright refusing basic service. The results of each investigation: insufficient evidence, case closed. Adrian struck the enter key hard, blood pounding in his temples. In that instant, he saw his mother again, exhausted from scrubbing hospital floors, only to be ordered around by a white nurse with disdain. The same cycle of contempt, repeating across generations. The second file, Eric Vaughan, first officer. 8 years of experience, yet littered with red marks of warning. 2 disciplinary actions for unprofessional conduct with passengers. Adrian opened the details. Both cases involved first-class customers who were minorities. In each, Eric had failed to verify tickets properly and instead called security to remove the passengers to lower cabins. The matters had been noted, but the punishment was nothing more than a verbal warning. Adrian let out a short, bitter laugh. He had spent decades proving his worth, while men like Eric kept rising with nothing more than a slap on the wrist. The third file, Naomi Park, flight attendant. Fewer direct complaints, but a pattern surfaced. She consistently worked alongside Brenda and Eric. Their names appeared together again and again on high-value international routes. A preferred unit, deliberately grouped. Adrian's eyes narrowed. He dug deeper into the system. A hidden file appeared, labeled Preferred Clients, Internal Use Only. His jaw tightened. This was no official policy. It was a secret list. The VIP list. Hundreds of names. 90% white men, mostly CEOs, politicians, and major investors. Notes spelled it out. Always upgrade if seats available. Always serve champagne. Never recheck boarding passes. Assist with personal luggage. Prioritize window seats. Adrian scrolled further. Another list emerged. The watch list. A chill swept down his spine. This was a blacklist of passengers to monitor. Predominantly people of color, Muslims, or anyone who had previously filed complaints. Notes instructed: check boarding passes multiple times, limit alcohol service, reduce priority whenever possible, report if showing signs of disturbance. Adrian sat still, his heart pounding against his ribs. This was not about a few individuals. This was systemic. A culture designed, maintained, encouraged. Up front, Graham Radcliffe burst out laughing, his voice slurred with alcohol. Now this is first-class service. They know how to treat important people. Brenda bent low, pouring his 7th glass of champagne. Naomi smiled as though Graham were the brightest star in the cabin. Eric stood nearby, casting a glance toward Adrian, then whispered, "Men like him always cause trouble. We should document everything, in case he files a complaint." Adrian heard every word. He smiled, a thin, icy smile, because they were writing their own indictment. He opened his secure line to Victor Reyes. Confirmed. Existence of VIP and watch lists. Run analysis across the last 5 years. Pull demographic data. Compare upgrade rates, complaints and compensation levels. Prepare class action filing if necessary. The reply came like thunder. Understood. Legal and PR teams waiting at JFK. Phase 2 ready. Adrian leaned back, closing his eyes for a moment. In his mind, the images returned. A boy in Harlem trailed by a supermarket guard, his mother scrubbing floors, the skeptical professor, the investor's mocking grin. All of it pressed down on him like weight on his chest. But this time, he would not just endure. This time, he would dismantle the system itself. Behind him, a white passenger muttered under his breath as Brenda snapped at the Muslim family. Probably just those people being difficult again. Adrian opened his eyes, glancing briefly back. The man averted his gaze, pretending not to see. Adrian realized, in this system, there were not only perpetrators, there were countless enablers, complicit in silence. Adrian placed his hands on the keyboard, typing his final note. This is no longer a flight. This is a test for an entire culture. The aircraft pierced through the night sky, leaving a faint trail of light behind. And in the cramped seat of economy, a plan had crystallized. A plan to erase discrimination rooted deep within, and to rebuild a sky of justice from the ashes. The captain's voice came over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now landing at John F. Kennedy International Airport, New York. The weather today is sunny, 24 degrees Celsius. Thank you for flying with Skyline Airways. Adrian opened his eyes. His laptop screen had gone dark, but on its drive, the evidence sat waiting to be unleashed. He closed it, locked it, his heartbeat steady and heavy, like war drums announcing a battle about to begin. The plane touched the runway with a jolt, the fuselage rattling as the engine slowed. In first class, Graham Radcliffe lounged back, finishing his last drink, leaving bottles scattered across the floor. Brenda and Naomi forced smiles, pretending not to notice the angry stares from passengers who had recorded the earlier incident. Eric Vaughan stole glances toward the back, where Adrian sat unmoving, silent as a shadow. But when the jet rolled into gate B27, everything would change. The announcement came, "First and business class passengers, please disembark first." Brenda leaned on the words, "first class," her eyes flicking toward Adrian as if to remind him he did not belong among them. She smoothed her hair, her smile strained but satisfied. Naomi stood ready, nearly bowing as she handed Graham his bag. Adrian did not rush. He waited, as he always did, knowing how to hold for the right moment. When the cabin was nearly empty, he rose. He lifted his bag and walked out, the rhythm of his sneakers striking against the floor. Brenda frowned as she saw he was the last passenger off, then quickly masked it with a polite smile. "Have a pleasant trip," she said. Adrian did not answer. He looked straight ahead, his eyes so cold They sent a chill down her spine. The door opened. A rush of cool air from the jet bridge swept in. And waiting at the end of the walkway stood a group. Victor Reyes, his chief of staff, in a dark blue suit, eyes blazing. At his side, 4 security officers, towering and immovable, blocking the path like a wall. Further back stood a delegation of Skyline executives, led by Leonard Briggs, the current CEO of Skyline Airways. His face was pale, sweat on his brow, his smile a fragile mask. Brenda, Naomi, and Eric followed out of the cabin, but froze at the sight. The air thickened. They did not yet understand, but their instincts screamed. This was no routine procedure. Victor's voice rang out. "Ms. Hale, Ms. Park, Mr. Vaughan, please stop." Brenda blinked in confusion, then forced her professional smile. "Is there a problem? We have another assignment after this flight." Victor did not reply. He tilted his head to the side. From behind him, Adrian stepped forward. The moment froze. Brenda's face drained of color. Naomi's eyes widened. Eric stiffened like a man struck. Adrian pulled back his hood, revealing the face they had seen in magazines, on financial broadcasts, in billion-dollar headlines. Adrian Cole. Brenda gasped, her body betraying fear, though she tried to steady her voice. Mr. Cole, I didn't know you were on this flight." Adrian's gaze bore into her. "Exactly. And that is the problem." Leonard Briggs scrambled forward, his voice trembling. "Mr. Cole, let me explain. This was surely a misunderstanding, an unfortunate incident." Adrian arched a brow. "A misunderstanding? You call humiliating a passenger, stripping them of their rightful seat, catering to a drunk and openly discriminating, a misunderstanding?" The air grew heavy, pressing down on everyone. Travelers near Gate B27 gathered, raising their phones, cameras blinking red. Brenda licked her lips, blurting out, "If we had known who you were, we never—" "Exactly," Adrian cut her off, his voice sharp as ice. "That is the root of the disease. You show respect only when you recognize power, status, or fame. But what about those without names or titles? They are dismissed, denied, humiliated. You forget your job is not to serve classes, but to serve people." Naomi dropped her gaze, her hands trembling. Eric tried to salvage authority, but his voice shook. "We were only following company policy." Adrian's eyes snapped to Leonard Briggs. "There is no policy that permits removing a paying passenger from their rightful seat to give it away. This is not a mistake. This is proof of a toxic culture ingrained in your system." Victor handed Adrian a tablet. He glanced at it, then turned the screen outward. On display, the replicated VIP list and watch list. Names glaring, annotations dripping with bias. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Brenda covered her mouth. Naomi broke into sobs. Eric stepped back in shock. Leonard Briggs wiped sweat from his brow, stammering, "Dick Cole, I had no knowledge." "You are the CEO," Adrian said, each word like a blade. "And ignorance is not a defense. Effective immediately, you are suspended from all duties pending investigation." Brenda pleaded desperately. "Mr. Cole, please give us another chance." Adrian raised his hand. You already had chances. Every passenger you dismissed was a chance wasted. And today, I am taking them all back. He turned to Victor. Begin phase 2. The 4 security officers stepped forward, seizing the crew's badges. Brenda, Naomi, and Eric stood frozen, stripped of their authority. Leonard Briggs sagged in place, realizing his career was crumbling like soot under waves. Adrian inhaled deeply. In his mind, he did not just hear the echoes of one ruined flight. He heard the collapse of an entire rotten system. At gate B27, under the gaze of hundreds of eyes and flashing cameras, a new story had begun. The story of a CEO, once underestimated, now rising to expose the false sky above them all. The air at gate B27 froze the moment Adrian Cole revealed his true identity. Brenda Hale staggered, her lips trembling. Naomi Park went pale, her eyes brimming with tears. Eric Vaughan stood rigid, as if the ground beneath him had cracked open. Leonard Briggs, CEO of Skyline, wiped sweat from his temples, struggling to hold a smile and failing. Around them, passengers raised their phones higher, capturing every second. The glow of cameras, whispers, widened eyes. No one had imagined that the man in a plain hoodie, dragged from a first-class seat, was in fact the owner of the entire airline. Adrian did not need to shout. He simply stepped forward, his voice steady but commanding. You thought I was just a passenger out of place. You forgot that sometimes the one in seat 34B is the one who decides the fate of an entire crew. Victor Reyes gave a signal. Security moved in, pulling Brenda, Naomi, and Eric aside. Brenda forced a brittle smile. Mr. Cole, surely this was just a misunderstanding. Adrian locked his eyes on hers. Misunderstandings do not repeat. Misunderstandings do not produce secret VIP lists. Misunderstandings do not force a passenger out of a seat they rightfully purchased. Eric summoned his courage, voice raspy. We were only following procedure. Diamond customers. What procedure? Adrian cut him off, his tone sharp as steel. There is no Skyline procedure that allows stripping a passenger of their seat to favor a drunk. Do not mistake cowardice for policy. Naomi lowered her head, her trembling hands clenched tight. For the first time, she could not find words to defend herself. Leonard Briggs rushed in, desperate to salvage. Mr. Cole, please believe me, I had no knowledge. This was individual misconduct, not a reflection of Skyline. Adrian let out a cold laugh. No knowledge? You are the CEO. Then answer me. Do you know upgrade rates for black passengers are 40% lower? Do you know complaints from minority customers are dismissed almost universally? Do you know these 3 employees accumulated repeated allegations buried in a drawer marked insufficient evidence? If you did not know, you failed. If you did, you were complicit. Both are unacceptable. The air thickened, each word striking like a hammer. From the distance came a staggering figure. Graham Radcliffe, still reeking of alcohol, pushed his way forward, waving his arms. Come now, what's all this fuss? This is the best crew I've ever had. They know how to treat valuable customers. I'm living proof. Brenda shut her eyes, silently cursing Graham for arriving at the worst possible moment. Naomi shook her head in despair. Eric gripped his bag strap tight. Adrian's eyes darkened as he faced Graham. "Mr. Radcliffe, do you remember? Seat 5A today was never yours. It was mine, and you took it as if it were your birthright." Graham scoffed, waving him off. "Men like me deserve it. Men like you." His words broke off as the hall erupted in outrage. Several black passengers stepped forward in protest. Cameras swiveled to Graham, recording every syllable. He realized too late he had just ended his own reputation before the world. Adrian inhaled deeply, then turned, addressing all Skyline staff before him. "This is not a debate. This is judgment. And this judgment is not for a few of you. It is for an entire culture that has rotted." Victor opened a case and pulled out a thick stack of papers. "This is the internal report from the past 3 months. 200 incidents of discrimination. 27 complaints buried. Evidence of the VIP and watch lists. Everything is ready." Adrian's voice thundered. "You turned service into theater, cabins into trenches of prejudice. But as of today, that ends." Leonard Briggs trembled. "Mr. Cole, I beg you, give Skyline a chance." Adrian raised his hand to silence him. "This chance is not yours. It belongs to the passengers who have been ignored for far too long, and I will return it to them." He turned to Brenda, Naomi, and Eric. "Today, you will leave Skyline. But remember, unemployment is not tragedy. The true tragedy is losing your humanity without ever realizing it." Brenda's shoulders collapsed, tears streaming down. Naomi fell into a seat, shaking. Eric ground his teeth, but his eyes were hollow. Adrian turned back to Leonard Briggs and the executives beside him. "As for the board, you will hear your judgment in the emergency meeting room. I will not strip you in front of the public, but know this: your grace period is over." Victor gestured. Security escorted the leadership team away, along with the crew. The group moved in tense silence, leaving the passengers stunned. A single clap broke out, then spread like a wave. Not for the chaos, but for the moment justice was laid bare. Adrian walked forward, his sneakers striking firm against the airport floor. He knew every camera was fixed on him, every headline already written. But in his mind, one truth remained. This was not the end. This was only the first step of a complete rebirth. By tomorrow, Skyline would no longer be Skyline, and the skies themselves would change color. The emergency conference room inside JFK Airport's business wing glared with white light. The long oval table, lined with leather chairs, offered no comfort to anyone seated there. The air was dense, heavy like a storm about to break. At the head of the table, Adrian Cole sat upright, his face cold as marble. To his right was Victor Reyes, his chief of staff, a thick dossier stacked before him. Across the table sat Leonard Briggs, CEO of Skyline Airways, alongside two senior executives, Patricia Alvarez, the COO, and Daniel Richardson, head of customer experience. They looked like school children dragged to the front of a classroom, fingers interlaced, eyes darting nervously. At the far end, Brenda Hale, Naomi Park, and First Officer Eric Vaughan sat stiff and silent. Naomi's trembling was obvious. Brenda forced a professional smile, but her lips were bloodless. Eric puffed his shoulders in a show of defiance, though his eyes betrayed unease. Adrian began, his voice calm, each word sharp as a blade. Today, a passenger was publicly humiliated, stripped of a first-class seat, and pushed down into economy, while a drunk was indulged like a king. That passenger was me, the CEO of the parent company that owns Skyline. Audible gasps filled the room. Leonard Briggs leaned forward, sweating. Mr. Cole, I sincerely apologize. I never, Adrian cut him off, voice rising, hard as steel. This is not about me. This is about the nameless, powerless passengers who endured the same treatment. And worse, this was not an accident. This was a system. Victor placed a tablet on the table, swiping the screen, projecting onto the wall, the VIP list and the watch list. Silence engulfed the room. Names lit up, annotations of favoritism and prejudice laid bare. Daniel Richardson's breath came short. I had no idea this file existed. Dear God, Adrian slammed his palm against the table, the sound ricocheting. You should have known. You should have. That was your job. He turned his gaze to Brenda, Naomi, Eric. You thought you were simply doing your jobs. But every sneer, every dismissive gesture, every decision to push a passenger to the back was a blade cutting at human dignity. And today, you will answer for it. Victor gave the signal. Security entered, delivering sealed envelopes. Brenda Hale, Naomi Park, Eric Vaughan. Your employment is terminated immediately. All access revoked. The company will not tolerate discrimination. Naomi burst into sobs. I was only following orders. I don't want to lose my job. Adrian looked at her, his eyes not angry now, but heavy with sorrow. Silence in the face of injustice is guilt of its own. If you truly want to change, perhaps you will find a second chance elsewhere. But here, the game is over. Brenda tried to cling on. Mr. Cole, if I had known you were, Adrian struck back. Exactly. You only care if you know who the customer is. That disease is what must be cut out. Leonard Briggs interjected desperately. Mr. Cole, I assure you again, I never directed this. I had no knowledge. Adrian pivoted, eyes slicing into him. And that is your greatest failure. A CEO unaware of the rot in his own company's culture is worse than the perpetrators. From this moment, you are suspended, pending full investigation. Leonard's face drained of all color. Patricia and Daniel bowed their heads in silence. Victor spoke again. In the last 3 months, our audit team documented 200 similar incidents. From denied special meals to forced seat changes, all rooted in the same pattern of bias. We have the data, the videos, the witness accounts. It is indisputable. The room was still, broken only by the scratching of pens on paper. Adrian rose, his voice filling the chamber. Today is not just the end of a few individuals. Today, Skyline Airways is forced to stare into a mirror that shows a face twisted and poisoned. And I, as its owner, will begin the surgery. He locked eyes with each of them, delivering the words like hammer strikes. No more VIP list, no more watch list, no more discrimination. every passenger, in a suit or a hoodie, black or white, deserves equal respect. From today, this is not a slogan. It is an order." Brenda buried her face in her hands, sobbing. Eric sat frozen, pale as ash. Naomi trembled, but a glimmer of something, remorse too late, flickered in her eyes. Leonard gasped for breath, gripping his chair, knowing his power had evaporated. Adrian drew a steady breath, his tone dropping but no less firm. "You thought you humiliated me when you pulled me from seat 5A. In truth, you gave me the chance to prove that real power is not in champagne flutes or boarding passes. It lies in the ability to change an entire system. And I will." He nodded at Victor. Security moved forward, escorting Brenda, Naomi, and Eric from the room. Leonard, too, was led out, his face hollow. When the door closed, Adrian looked around at the silence that remained. He knew this was only the beginning. An old era had collapsed. A new era was being born. 1 week after the historic confrontation at Gate B27, every employee of Skyline Airways was summoned to the Grand Hall of the New York headquarters. More than 1,000 people filled the seats: pilots, flight attendants, engineers, ground staff, and middle managers. The atmosphere was unusual, a mix of curiosity and tension. On stage, the Skyline logo hung high but was dimmed by the lights. Next to it, a new symbol shone brightly: Global Ventures International. Workers whispered, speculating. Then, when the backstage door opened, the noise subsided. Adrian Cole stepped out. No flashy suit, no polished tie. Just a plain white shirt, sleeves rolled up, posture tall and firm. He did not need attire to command authority. His very presence was enough to silence the hall. "Good morning." His voice was deep, steady, yet resounding. "I am Adrian Cole. If you do not already know, Global Ventures International completed the acquisition of Skyline Airways 3 months ago. I am the new owner of this airline." A wave of murmurs rippled across the crowd. Many employees were shocked. Some exchanged uneasy glances. Adrian raised his hand, and silence fell again. "I will tell you a story," he said slowly. 1 week ago, on a flight from Tokyo to New York, a passenger was forced out of his first-class seat, despite paying in full. Pushed down into a cramped economy row, served with contempt and mockery, stripped of his dignity because of how he looked. That passenger was me. A stir swept the hall. Many faces froze in disbelief. Some lowered their eyes in shame. Adrian drew a deep breath, his voice growing stronger. "But I do not tell this for sympathy. I tell it to expose a truth. If it can happen to me, a CEO, a billionaire, then it has happened countless times to passengers without power. And you all know that." Victor Reyes, standing at the side of the stage, tapped his tablet. Behind Adrian, the massive screen lit up with charts and figures. "Over the past 3 months," Adrian continued, "we conducted a full audit. The results? Passengers of color were 40% less likely to receive upgrades compared to white passengers of the same tier. Complaints from minority passengers were resolved only 32% of the time, while for white passengers, the rate was 85%, and worse, we uncovered a secret VIP list and a watch list, where passengers were categorized by skin color, religion, and appearance. A shockwave rippled through the hall. Many employees covered their mouths. Some clicked their tongues in disbelief. Others bowed their heads, knowing they had seen such things, but stayed silent. Adrian pressed on. His voice surged, rising to a crescendo. This is not the fault of a few individuals. This is a system, a culture that coddled some while trampling others, a culture that drove Escalation Airways into disgrace. And as of today, it ends. He lifted his hand. The screen shifted to a bold title: Project Phoenix, Rebirth from the Ashes. We will rewrite every standard. No more VIP list, no more watch list. Every passenger will be treated equally. We will establish a passenger bill of rights, posted on every aircraft, at every gate, for all to see and to remind us every single day. He paused, scanning the hall, his voice dropping into a vow. From today, flight attendants will no longer be judged only by the satisfaction of first-class passengers. We will measure consistency in serving everyone, no matter who they are. To ensure this, we will deploy random inspections, mystery passengers from every background, and the data will be public. Nothing hidden. Behind him, the screen displayed mandatory bias recognition training, service process monitoring by cameras, and anonymous reporting systems. Adrian stepped down from the podium, moving closer to the audience. He no longer spoke like an executive, but like a storyteller. When I was 10, a supermarket guard followed me and my mother simply because our skin was not white. When I was in college, a professor asked if I was in the wrong class because I scored too high. And last week, when I was already a CEO, they dragged me from first class because they thought I did not belong. This is not just my story. This is the story of millions of passengers. He stopped, eyes blazing. But we have the chance to change, not just to patch policies, but to rebirth the entire system. Skyline will no longer be Skyline. It will become Horizon Global Airways, a new sky where no one is judged unworthy because of appearance or origin. The hall fell silent for a few seconds, then scattered applause began, swelling into a thunderous wave. Many flight attendants wiped tears. Some ground staff nodded, eyes bright as if a weight had been lifted. Adrian raised his hand to quiet them. He knew applause was easy, change was hard. I will not promise this road will be smooth. There will be resistance. There will be doubt. But I promise this. Anyone who chooses to stand with me will help write the next chapter of aviation history. In that moment, the hall was no longer just a workplace. It became the birthplace of a collective vow. And at its center, Adrian Cole. Once humiliated for wearing a hoodie on a flight, now stood like a flame, burning away an old culture to open a new sky. 6 months had passed since Skyline Airways was shaken to its core. 6 months since the confrontation at Gate B27 had turned an entire airline into a public courtroom. And now, a new chapter was beginning. Departure. Gate B27 at JFK, late afternoon. Unlike the weary image of the past, the area was packed with reporters, passengers and staff in new silver, blue uniforms, the logo of Horizon Global Airways glowing bright. The press buzzed, cameras flashing toward a massive banner. Inaugural flight, Horizon Global. Beside it, a wide red ribbon stretched across. The host announced the event, raised a pair of golden scissors, and cut. Cheers erupted. The ribbon fell, and the hall thundered with applause. In the crowd, Adrian Cole wore only a grey jacket and plain jeans. No one realized that the tall man in the hoodie, standing quietly in the shadows, was the very one who had ignited this revolution. He wanted only to observe, without the flash of cameras. When boarding began, Adrian approached the counter. The agent bowed slightly, her voice steady and warm, just as it had been with every passenger before him. "Good evening, sir. May I please see your ticket and ID?" He handed them over. She checked carefully, then offered a genuine smile, not forced. "Thank you, Mr. Cole. Your seat is 5A. Have a wonderful flight." A small difference, but a clear one. Service that was consistent, equal, without exaggerated deference, without hidden contempt. Adrian nodded, stepped into the jet bridge, and felt a strange sensation rising within him, as if he had crossed into a new world. Inside the first-class cabin, the atmosphere was different. The crew was diverse, in matching uniforms, their smiles sincere. A young male attendant, Michael Torres, approached. "Welcome to Horizon, Mr. Cole. I'm Michael. Would you like something to drink before takeoff?" "Water, please." The glass was placed neatly on a coaster, exactly as it was for every other passenger. No more, no less. Adrian touched the rim lightly, a simple gesture, but it carried the memory of the day when cold water had been spilled on his lap. Today, there was no mockery, no disdain, only respect. Across the aisle, a young black boy of about 9 fumbled with a small backpack covered in airplane stickers. Around his neck hung a tag that read, "Unaccompanied minor." His face shone with excitement, wide eyes following the attendant guiding him to his seat. Adrian smiled. The sight was a reflection of himself 36 years ago, standing at a Harlem window, dreaming of planes. Now that boy was settling into seat 5B, right beside him. "First time in first class?" Adrian asked, leaning over. "Yes, sir." The boy nodded eagerly. "I'm flying to Tokyo to visit my grandmother. She's sick, but this is my first time here. I thought they'd tell me. I was in the wrong seat." Adrian froze. His chest tightened. He placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "No, this is your seat, and no one has the right to tell you otherwise." The intercom chimed. "Good evening, everyone. I am Lisa Bennett, Head of Training for Horizon Global. Before we take off, we want to introduce the Passenger Bill of Rights. This is our pledge, to respect and serve every passenger equally, regardless of status, skin color, or religion." Lisa stepped to the front of the cabin, her voice steady, her eyes determined. Adrian looked at her and remembered Naomi whispering mockery behind the service cart. The same person, but different choices had turned her into a symbol of change. As the plane taxied, Adrian gazed out the window. New York glowed below, the night spreading like a velvet blanket. Engines roared, the fuselage shook, and then lifted off the ground. At that moment, Adrian turned to the boy. His eyes sparkled, glued to the glass. "Are you scared?" Adrian asked with a laugh. No, the boy exclaimed, because I know every flight is an adventure. Adrian chuckled. No, because I know every flight is a new beginning. The boy grinned wide. Then this is my adventure. In the dim cabin light, Adrian closed his eyes. 6 months earlier, he had been dragged from this very seat, treated as if he did not belong. Today he sat in it again, not to prove his worth, but to witness the beginning of an era. He listened to Lisa explaining the new training program, to the boy's laughter as he discovered the reclining seat, to the attendants addressing every passenger with equal respect. And in his heart, he knew the true victory was not in firing a few offenders. Victory was in the change that had taken root, in a world where the boy beside him would grow up never fearing the question, "Are you sure this is your seat?" Adrian opened his eyes, gazing out into the endless sky. Reflected faintly from the wing was the bold name painted on the aircraft. Horizon Global Airways, a new horizon. A reminder that from the ashes, sometimes the strongest thing to rise is not power, but dignity. And so the story closes, not with the noise of a scandal, but with the silence of a sea that has just changed its color. Adrian Cole boarded a plane in a simple hoodie, forced to leave his first-class seat in humiliation, only to return to that very seat with a mission fulfilled, turning personal pain into the foundation for change across an entire industry. But the question that remains is not for him. It is for us. If one day you are dismissed, pushed aside because of how you look or where you come from, will you bow your head in silence? Or will you rise and turn that moment into a flame of change? If this story has touched you, press like to spread the message, share so others can see it, and do not forget to subscribe so you will not miss the journeys to come, where justice is not confined to books, but written into everyday life by those who dare to stand and say, "Enough."